there is no real rabbi garb. Um, we'll have to have another conversation about how Judaism and Episcopalianism, at least, are different in terms of like who gets to do
Mm.
what.
Hmm.
Um, and so the closest I have to rabbi garb is this is the talit I was given when I was ordained at the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, which is the um, conservative, one of the conservative rabbinical schools in the United States. It's located in New York City.
Is that a
Um,
burning bush on the
it
symbol?
is. It's supposed to be the bush that is burning, and it was never consumed. Like in the story of Moses first encountering God and being called to go back to Egypt.
That's beautiful.
And it's written in Hebrew on the outside of the
Oh,
building,
cool.
JTS, which is located right next to Columbia if you're ever up there. And so really only people who have been ordained at JTS have a talit that looks like this. I didn't actually get this exact one at ordination because there was a fire in the building that was where they were making these. And so we ended up having them mailed to us, but it ended up working out really sweet because we had mentors let us borrow theirs at the ordination
Oh, that's
ceremony.
really sweet.
But this is a prayer shawl. So there's a custom in Judaism of wearing one when you're praying after the age of bar or bat mitzvah. So 12, 13. And one thing that's a little similar between what we were just talking about, the rosary and the talit, is this very tactile, what we call tzitzit, which are fringes. And really, this is what makes a talit a talit. Otherwise, it's just a shawl. But
Hmm.
a talit, so it needs to have four corners and then it needs to have these fringes on it. And the idea of a talit comes from the Torah, where we're told to put fringes on the corners of our garments to be a reminder of following God's mitzvot or God's Jewish actions of how to live in the world. And the word, so every Hebrew letter has a numerical value. And if you add up the numerical value of tzitzit, the word, it adds up to 613, which is
Hmm.
allegedly the number of mitzvot in the Torah.
Oh.
Um, but we don't have like a routine practice of like holding them in a certain way or saying
Mm.
prayers in a certain way, but often you will see people kind of like playing with them or holding them while praying. I think just because it is such a nice, like, tactile experience.
So there's like each knot, you're not saying something different on each knot. You're
No,
just holding them while you're praying.
but when you're tying them, you do say a certain thing that you're like tying it
Mm.
for the sake of this mitzvah. I am not personally into tying my own tzitzit, but some people are very into that, and there are different customs of how you tie them.
Hmm.
And some people will have a blue thread in them, which is known as techelet. And it mentions in the Torah that you should put this blue fringe to remind you, in particular of God.
Hmm.
And it's a really interesting tradition because it's something that was lost in Judaism for a very long time when so many Jews were kicked out of the land of Israel.
Hmm.
The kind of like cocktail for how to make this dye was forgotten.
Oh, wow.
And so in the Talmud, you see some debate about like what animal did this actually come from? What
Is-
animal was used to make this dye? Like they knew it was an animal, and but they didn't know exactly what. And and so it wasn't until relatively recently that I think in like the 1980s that a combination of archaeologists and looking at old textual references and like textile scientists um, work together to figure out what makes the dye. It turns out it comes from a sea snail that's like
Oh,
pretty much only found in the Mediterranean, like off the coast. And the archaeologists found like shells of lots and lots of sea snails that had holes drilled into them, presumably to extract this dye.
wow.
So it's really been in my lifetime that people have once again started with having a blue thread
Wow, and
And
it's just one blue thread in the cluster of other white.
that's a good question. It's not the whole thing that's blue. I think it is one, but it's looped over,
Hmm.
so it kind of looks like two. I don't have one, so I don't know for sure. It's pretty expensive
Hmm.
getting the techelet, and it also feels a little weird to me that I'm wearing something that a snail died for. I realize lots of people feel good about it, and that is fine.
Hmm. But for
But for me, I don't have
I don't know if you can see also this embroidery on there. It looks like the commandment
one.
stones
Yeah,
from Moses.
I've actually never paid attention to that part.
This is because I don't have very rarely seen one before, so.
Yeah, and it has on it the blessing that you say before putting it on. So in Judaism, there's pretty much a blessing before doing most actions. So it says, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. So blessed is Adonai. It's one of the most common names for God. Our God, King or ruler of the world, Asher Kachanu B'mitzvotav, who commands us with God's mitzvot, Vitzivanu Lahita Teif Batzitzit, and commands us to wrap ourselves in tzitzit. And so you say this, and one interesting thing that maybe we'll see when you show us some more clergy garb
Mhm.
is there is a tradition of kissing it
Mhm.
before you put it on. Um, so yeah, that's
That's
the
great.
talit, but really you'll see them, they look different. They can have stripes, they can be made of different materials.
Interesting.
So this is a pretty heavy one. Um, but they can be made of silk. They can be like lots of materials, lots of different colors, different sizes. That's all fine. But really, what they have to have are four corners and the tzitzit. That's what makes it a talit.
So do you only use this when you're praying in community, or do you use it when you're praying at
No,
home?
you can wear it anytime you're praying. There's also something called tzitzit katan, which basically looks kind of like a tank top with
Hmm.
four tzitzit on them. And so if you've ever seen, it's mostly men you might see that they're wearing a shirt and they have fringes hanging out
Hmm.
from underneath their shirt. They're wearing a tzitzit katan. So the idea is that it says in the Torah, like when you're wearing a four-cornered garment, you should put fringes on it.
Hmm.
Back in the day, that's basically what clothes looked like. We pretty much wore ponchos.
Yeah.
And so people would have them on there. Well, when fashion changed, that some people developed this practice of like wanting to be able to embrace this mitzvah all the time. And so they wear this particular garment when they're awake and out in the world, so they can always be wearing tzitzit.
Hmm.
But this one is really just worn during prayer.
And you said that it's not just ordained people, it's anybody after their bar and bat mitzvah. Okay.
Yes, although there are some communities, their tradition is, well, there are many communities that only men wear them in.
Oh, okay.
Um, and there also are some communities, their tradition is only to wear a talit once you've gotten married.
Oh,
So some people will receive a talit as a wedding present. Um,
wow.
yeah.
So you've owned other
Yes,
talits
I have a
before.
lot of them. This is a different one that's more much more feminine looking. And it's smaller.
Wow.
So it doesn't have the same kind of like imagery on it, but it still has the same tzitzit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.